On November 18, 1977, 20,000 women, men, and children came to Houston, Texas to a remarkable event. The event was the first of its kind, and few Americans outside the attendees knew it was happening. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of many new opportunities for women. This event was known as the National Women's Rights Conference of 1977. The event started off with a declaration read by Maya Angelou.
We recognize that women collectively have been unfairly treated and dishonorably portrayed. We recognize our responsibility to work toward the eradication of negatives in our society, and by so doing, bring honor to our gender, to our species, and to ourselves individually.
During that period of time, I was a single mom raising 3 kids. The thing I remember most about the women's movement was the artists that were coming out of that era. A song came out of You and Me Against the World, and I remember feeling empowered, and I remember feeling like we could accomplish anything together.
Bella Abzug and Patsy Mink helped organize the National Women's Conference. The conference covered topics such as abortions, lesbian rights, and the Equal Rights Amendment. These activists pushed for laws that would help women from all different racial and economic backgrounds.
And fundamental to the movement of women is the participation of all of us as we come out of our neighborhoods, as we come out of our backgrounds, to come together, to exchange our ideas and to discuss our problems. The women whom the Congress of Neighborhood Women represent know that the women's movement is something real. It's not some intellectual upper middle class thing that people try to make it. It's our problems. It's ours. It's us. It's our today. And more than today, it's our tomorrow.
Though the conference was about unity among women, there was conflict around it. The two conflicting groups were the feminists and the conservatives. The feminists believed in women's rights and equality of all genders. Conservatives believed in no changes and liked to stay true to traditional values. In some situations, they didn't want women to be equal to men. The ERA was one of the controversial subjects at the conference. It was a law that banned discrimination on the basis of sex. Many people wanted it to pass, and many people wanted it to fail. Phyllis Schlafly was one of the activists who was against the ERA. She was a conservative Republican. In the 1970s, she organized the Stop ERA campaign. Schlafly actually did not attend a women's rights conference, but she held a protest that was a couple miles away from it. Phyllis Schlafly argued that this amendment would end the men-only restriction when being drafted into war. Phyllis worried that the women would end up being drafted into war. She also thought that the ERA would stop women from gaining custody over their child in divorce cases.
When you make the laws apply equally to men and women, you end up taking away many of the rights that women now have. For example, the Equal Rights Amendment will make our young women subject to the draft and military combat the next time we have one of these wars that we have every 10 years, because no longer could you have it just apply to males. It would have to apply equally to females. And then ERA is a big attack on the rights of the homemaker. The laws of every state make it the obligation of the husband to support his wife, to provide her with a home, to support their minor children. The woman in the home can draw Social Security benefits based on her husband's earnings, even though she's been a homemaker all her life. Now, all these things will be lost when you apply a rule that says that everything must be equal.
Phyllis also worried about the idea of unisex bathrooms, and she was especially afraid that people of the same sex will be able to get married. Phyllis thought girls should be able to go to a school of one gender, but the ERA might take those schools away.
The admissions to single-sex colleges are exempted from the fundamental federal law against sex discrimination. So we have some schools that have remained all women, like Smith or Wellesley or Bryn Mawr. Now that would become illegal under the Equal Rights Amendment because they discriminate by definition on the basis of sex, and you can have no exceptions in ERA. Now, I don't know why anybody wants to take away from women your right to choose a single-sex school if that is your choice.
One of the more famous feminists was Betty Friedan. She was an activist and an American writer. After she had her second child, she wondered if any other woman felt the same. Betty wanted to be more than a stay-at-home mom. That's when Betty wrote her first book, The Feminine Mystique, and she became a feminist. She co-founded the National Organization for Women and became their first president. In the conference, she wanted the ERA to pass. She wanted women to have a greater role in the political process.
There is no law that now exists that makes those women who have been working as housewives insured in their own right for old age, for Social Security. There's no insurance that if that marriage should end in divorce, as it is for all too many people, that women's contribution will be considered equally in the disposition of the property. And there is no provision even really, as it is now, to enforce child support, much less alimony for women. We really absolutely need the Equal Rights Amendment to enable all the young women and men that are coming out of law school now to create new bodies of law that will really protect women.
Since Betty was a feminist, she and Phyllis clashed over many ideas.
The inequity now, and the reason we need ERA, is that if the marriage ends in divorce, there isn't any provision that gives the work of the wife equal value.
Well, but look, under the
property.
existing custom, she usually gets the children, and that's worth a lot more than money.
If you knew, you see, I am divorced, and I don't know your situation, but if you knew the reality of the economic problems that women are facing in divorce, if you knew in my own state, for instance, where there's been a 1,000% increase in the divorce rate, and how women 1 year after divorce can't collect child support, and sometimes they can't even take care of their children.
Yes, but aren't they glad they've got the children?
And so they need the Equal Rights Amendment. But they need the Equal Rights Amendment to remove the inequities that now exist.
The ratification deadline for the ERA was set for March 22nd, 1979. In 1977, 35 out of the required 38 states agreed to pass the ERA. With its wide support in the country, it was going to be ratified until Phyllis came with her strong campaign to oppose it. Her campaign was so strong that 4 states reversed their decision to ratify, and after a series of legal arguments, the ERA was never passed. The following statements were sent to me from the Carter Center. Ms. Rosalind Carter sent me what she had to say about the ERA. My greatest disappointment in all things I worked on was the failure to achieve this. At the end, there were only 13 legislators, 2 in Florida, 2 in North Carolina, and 9 in Nevada, who held it up. Jimmy and I called them. I went to see some that I thought might change their minds, but our efforts were futile. An ERA, to this day, has not been ratified. Before the women's conference, a woman's daily life was different. They didn't have as much freedom as they did after the conference. Women were not able to own a credit card if they were not married. Even if she was married, her husband was required to co-sign. The woman most likely felt disrespected, like if she is not smart enough to have her own card. Women did not have equal pay like men. Women also were not able to get the more professional job. For every dollar a man made, a woman made 59 cents. The advertisements from the 1960s even showed that women weren't treated equally. Daily life for women changed forever after the 1970s. The National Women's Rights Conference had a huge impact on that. Higher and more professional jobs were open for women. From 1977 to 1979, there were 21 women in the Congress, while there were 105 women in the Congress of 2017. The number has increased, but that is only 105 people out of 535. That is not even half of the people in the Congress.
I think we've gone along, but we have a long way to go. We can't even elect the first woman president yet. And today's issues with the pink hats and the movements, I think it's going to have to be, I have no doubt that we can do it, but I think we all have to stand behind each other and help each other out instead of being divided.
The Women's Rights Conference of 1977 was a remarkable event that united so many people to stand up for women's rights. The conference has opened many doors for women. Without the conference, many women today would not stand up for themselves with courage. Everyone must stand together and give each other the equal rights that they deserve.